With a population of 2,794,356 in 2021-10. It is the fourth most populous city in North America. The city is the anchor of the Golden Horseshoe, an urban agglomeration of 9,765,188 people, as of 2021, surrounding the western end of Lake Ontario, 11, while the Greater Toronto Area proper had a 2021 population of 6,712,341, 10. Toronto is an international center of business, finance, arts, sports, and culture and is one of the most multicultural and cosmopolitan cities in the world. The diverse population of Toronto reflects its current and historical role as an important destination for immigrants to Canada. 2021. About half of its residents were born outside of Canada and over 200 ethnic origins are represented among its inhabitants. 22. While the majority of Torontonians speak English as their primary language, over 160 languages are spoken in the city. 23. The Mayor of Toronto is elected by direct popular vote to serve as the chief executive of the city. The Toronto City Council is a unicameral legislative body, comprising 25 councillors since the 2018 municipal election, representing geographical wards throughout the city. Toronto is a prominent centre for music, 25, theatre, 26, motion picture production, 27, and television production, 28, and is home to the headquarters of Canada's major national broadcast networks and media outlets, 29. Its varied cultural institutions, 30, which include numerous museums and galleries, festivals and public events, entertainment districts, national historic sites, and sports activities, 31, attract over 43 million tourists each year. 32, 33. Toronto is known for its many skyscrapers and high-rise buildings, 34, in particular the tallest freestanding structure on land outside of Asia, the sea. The city is home to the Toronto Stock Exchange, the headquarters of Canada's 5 largest banks, 36, and the headquarters of many large Canadian and multinational corporations, 37. Its economy is highly diversified with strengths in technology, design, financial services, life sciences, education, arts, fashion, aerospace, environmental innovation, food services, and tourism. 38, 39, 40. Toronto is the third largest tech hub in North America after Silicon Valley and New York City, and the fastest growing hub. The word Toronto has been recorded with various spellings in French and English, including Torrento, Tarantha, Toronto, Taranto, Torrento, Toronto, and Toronton. 42. Toronto referred to the Narrows, a channel of water through which Lake Simcoe discharges into Lake Couchiching, where the Huron had planted tree saplings to corral fish. This Narrows was called T-Toronto by the Mohawk, meaning, where there are trees standing in the water, 43, 44, 45, and was recorded as early as 1615 by Samuel de Champlain. 46. The word Toronto, meaning plenty, also appears in a 1632 French lexicon of the Huron language, which is also an Iroquoian language. 47. It also appears on French maps referring to various locations, including Georgian Bay, Lake Simcoe, and several rivers. 48. A portage route from Lake Ontario to Lake Huron running through this point, known as the Toronto Carrying Place Trail, led to widespread use of the name. Toronto is an international center for business and finance. Generally considered the financial and industrial capital of Canada, Toronto has a high concentration of banks and brokerage firms on Bay Street in the financial district. The Toronto Stock Exchange is the world's 7th largest stock exchange by market capitalization, 165. The 5 largest financial institutions of Canada, collectively known as the Big Five, all have their global corporate headquarters in Toronto, alongside Canada's major insurance giants. 166, 167, Lake freighters moored in the Port of Toronto. The city is an important center for the media, publishing, telecommunication, information technology and film production industries. It is home to Bell Media, Rogers Communications, and Torstar. Other prominent Canadian corporations and Canadian subsidiaries of international corporations in the Greater Toronto Area include Magna International, Pizza Pizza, Mr. Sub, Celestica, Manulife, Sun Life Financial, Toyota Canada Inc., the Hudson's Bay Company, and major hotel companies and operators, such as Four Seasons Hotels and Fairmont Hotels and Resorts. 168. Although much of the region's manufacturing activities occur outside the city limits, Toronto continues to be a wholesale and distribution point for the industrial sector. The city's strategic position along the Quebec City-Windsor corridor within the Great Lakes megalopolis and its road and rail connections help support the nearby production of motor vehicles, iron, steel, food, machinery, chemicals and paper. The completion of the St. Lawrence Seaway in 1959 gave ships access to the Great Lakes from the Atlantic Ocean. Toronto's unemployment rate was 6.7% as of July 2016, 169. According to the website Numbeo, Toronto's cost of living plus rent index was second highest in Canada, of 31 cities, 170. The local purchasing power was the sixth lowest in Canada, mid-2017, 171. The average monthly social assistance caseload for January to October 2014 was 92,771. Toronto's 2013 child poverty rate was 28.6%, the highest among large Canadian cities of 500,000 or more residents. The financial district in Toronto centers on Bay Street, the equivalent to Wall Street in New York, 173. The city hosts the headquarters of all five of Canada's largest banks: Royal Bank of Canada, Toronto Dominion Bank, Scotiabank, Bank of Montreal and Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, and was ranked as the safest banking system in the world between 2007 and 2014 according to the World Economic Forum. 103. Toronto's economy has seen a steady growth boom thanks to many corporations relocating their Canadian headquarters into the city and Canada's growing cultural significance, resulting in several companies setting up shop in Toronto. Toronto is Canada's largest media market, 174, and has 4 conventional dailies, 2 alt-weeklies, and 3 free commuter papers in a greater metropolitan area of about 6 million inhabitants. The Toronto Star and the Toronto Sun are the prominent daily city newspapers, while national dailies The Globe and Mail and the National Post are also headquartered in the city. 175. The Toronto Star, The Globe and Mail, and National Post are broadsheet newspapers. Star Metro is distributed as free commuter newspapers. Several magazines and local newspapers cover Toronto, including Now and Toronto Life, while numerous magazines are produced in Toronto, such as Canadian Business, Chatelaine, Flair and Maclean's. Daily Hive, Western Canada's largest online-only publication, opened its Toronto office in 2016. 176. Toronto contains the headquarters of the major English-language Canadian television networks CBC, CTV, City TV, Global, the Sports Network, TSN, and Sportsnet. Much, formerly Much Music, M3, formerly Much More, and MTV Canada are the main music television channels based in the city. However, they no longer primarily show music videos as a result of channel drift and the shift in demographics. Toronto is one of the centers of Canada's film and television industry due in part to the lower cost of production in Canada. The city's streets and landmarks are seen in a variety of films, mimicking the scenes of American cities such as Chicago and New York. The city provides diverse settings and neighborhoods to shoot films, with production facilitated by Toronto's Film and Television Office. Toronto's film industry has extended beyond the Toronto CMA into adjoining cities such as Hamilton, and Toronto is one of the centers of Canada's film and television industry due in part to the lower cost of production in Canada. The city's streets and landmarks are seen in a variety of films, mimicking the scenes of American cities such as Chicago and New York. The city provides diverse settings and neighborhoods to shoot films, with production facilitated by Toronto's Film and Television Office. Toronto's film industry has extended beyond the Toronto CMA into adjoining cities such as Hamilton and Oshawa. Toronto is a large hub of the Canadian and global technology industry, generating $52 billion in revenues annually. In 2017, Toronto tech firms offered almost 30,000 jobs, which is higher than the combination of San Francisco Bay Area, Seattle and Washington, D.C., 179. The area bound between the Greater Toronto Area, the region of Waterloo and the city of Hamilton was termed a Digital Corridor by the Branham Group, 180, a region highly concentrated with technology companies and jobs similar to Silicon Valley in California, 181. Toronto is home to a large startup ecosystem and is the third largest center for information and communications technology in North America, behind New York City and the Silicon Valley, 41. In 2023, the city was ranked as the 17th best startup scene in the world. In 2018, 27.5 million tourists visited Toronto, generating $10.3 billion, tilde $12.3 billion in 2023, in economic activity. 183. The Toronto Eaton Centre receives over 47 million visitors per year. 184. Other commercial areas popular with tourists include the Path Network, which is the world's largest, 185, underground shopping complex, as well as Kensington Market and St. Lawrence Market. 186. The Toronto Islands are close to downtown Toronto and do not permit private motor vehicles beyond the airport. Other tourist attractions include the CN Tower, Casa Loma, Toronto's theatres and musicals, Yonge Dundas Square, and Ripley's Aquarium of Canada. The Royal Ontario Museum is a museum of world culture and natural history. The Toronto Zoo, 187-188, is home to over 5,000 animals representing over 460 distinct species. The Art Gallery of Ontario contains an extensive collection of Canadian, European, African and contemporary artwork. Also, it hosts exhibits from museums and galleries from all over the world. The Gardiner Museum of Ceramic Art is the only museum in Canada entirely devoted to ceramics, and the museum's collection contains more than 2,900 ceramic works from Asia, the Americas, and Europe. The city also hosts the Ontario Science Centre, the Barter Shoe Museum, and textile. Other prominent art galleries and museums include the Design Exchange, 189. The TIFF Lightbox, the Museum of Contemporary Art Toronto, Canada, the Institute for Contemporary Culture, the Toronto Sculpture Garden, the CBC Museum, the Redpath Sugar Museum, the University of Toronto Art Centre, Hart House, the TD Gallery of Inuit Art, Little Canada and the Aga Khan Museum. The city also runs its own museums, which include the Spadina House, 190. The Don Valley Brickworks is a former industrial site that opened in 1889 and was partly restored as a park and heritage site in 1996, with further restoration being completed in stages since then. The Canadian National Exhibition, the X, is held annually at Exhibition Place and is the oldest annual fair in the world. The X has an average attendance of 1.25 million. 191 city shopping areas include the Yorkville neighborhood, Queen West, Harbourfront, the Entertainment District, the Financial District, and the St. Lawrence Market neighborhood. 192, 193. The Eaton Centre is Toronto's most popular tourist attraction with over 52 million visitors annually. 194, the Hockey Hall of Fame is a museum dedicated to ice hockey, as well as a Hall of Fame. Greektown on the Danforth is home to the annual Taste of the Danforth Festival, which attracts over 1 million people in 2+1/2 days. 195. Toronto is also home to Casa Loma, the former estate of Sir Henry Pellet, a prominent Toronto financier, industrialist and military man. Other notable neighborhoods and attractions in Toronto include the beaches, the Toronto Islands, Kensington Market, Fort York, and the Thank you for watching Ho-Tsiki Hall of Museum of Canada, Shower Tower.